Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Green Hell Bootcamp. Now in this series we will be looking at the basics you need to survive, both here in Green Hell and in real life. So we'll be taking the skills we gain in this game and we will be applying that to real life, how you would go about doing things in real life. First thing you need to do is you need to have a good look at your surroundings. Make sure that you are in a safe spot so that you can carry on with your adventure. Now we are playing this on Green Hell difficulty, which means we have one life, as in real life, and if we die, well, that is it. So we should be quite careful in terms of where we are going. Now, where we are starting, quite interesting, we've got a nice high-lying area, we can see quite far. We do have quite a few trees, we've got a cliff behind us. Now in this series I will not be using the maps that we can locate in the game. Instead I will be using only the compass that we've got around here, and then I'll be making a little map based on what we have actually explored. So we're starting here at 39 degrees west, 21 degrees south, and that is going to be our starting point for our map. Now we have got the basics east, south, west and north of course, and I think we should start by heading to a little bit lower ground. So we want water, we want food, we want protection. Okay, and we can do that on the way down to the lower lying areas, because if you go lower down, that's generally where you'll find quite a bit of water, potentially, in real life at least. So while we are going though, we do need to be quite careful. We've got lianas here that we can harvest for rope, and I'm just going to harvest one for now. I will be talking about how you would go about making rope from lianas in a later episode, probably in the next one. Now our main objective now is to find stone so that we can actually make a tool to aid us in our survival. Now I've very often seen people struggling to find rocks in this game. What you would generally need to do, so this is now for this game, in real life you would find rocks lying all over the place. The question in real life is actually more a case of getting the right type of rock. Now in this game, however, whenever you find these big ass boulders like these lying around, if you climb around on them, you should be able to find some of these big stones which you can then harvest to make into smaller stones. So that's the first important tip. Looking for these big ass rocks, and then you can probably find some big stones lying around on them all around them. So if we look on this one here, again another big stone right over here which we can harvest, and there's some more down here. Now in real life what you would actually do is you would take this big rock, right, and we're just going to put him out in the open over here where we can see nicely. Okay, so put him right down here. You will take this big rock and look for the shape that you can find in there, okay, and they will use that shape of the rock to determine the stone tool that you are going to make, or the basic core tool that you are going to make. So stone tools can be broken up into core tools and flake tools. Flake tools are more advanced. They are smaller ones and they are made from the pieces that you actually cut off the rock. So usually what you would do is you would take your two stones. So normally you would have a big stone and a small stone, and you take the smaller stone and actually chip away at this big stone, making it flake. And in the process you will get a smaller but very sharp tool which you can then use as a, in this case, stone blade. Okay, so the stone blade that we've got in this game here is a moderate size, difficult to see in here, but it's a moderate size, and you can use this to do a variety of things. Okay, we can use this to chop wood, chop up leaves, like this, and you can use it to butcher animals. Now what you need in real life would be to actually have a bigger one for butchering of larger animals, and you have smaller flakes to butcher smaller animals like the snake that we're going to see right up here. And then you'd have a variety of shaped tools in your arsenal. Now we've got a rattlesnake right over here, and this is going to be a good source of protein for us. Now we don't have our crosshair on, so we're going to have to guess where we are, and we've managed to hit him. Now in real life the snake would actually be running away, but we have just killed him with two stones. Now the important thing to note is that you really want to keep your distance from whatever you are trying to kill. Most people actually get bitten when they try to kill snakes, and they're using things like spades and stuff, and the snakes are faster than they realize. They grab the snake trying to kill it, then they get bitten. Best is, in real life, leave the snake the hell alone. Don't go and poke the snake. Rather safe than sorry. You don't want to get bitten by a snake if you can help it. Okay, So we now have a basic stone tool. We've got a bit of meat. What we do need still would be a spear or some kind of larger weapon to defend ourselves with. So we are just going to chop this down this tree quickly. And now that we've done that, we have got access to these long sticks. And that's where this stone blade in real life would actually come in quite useful. In real life, you would take this long stick and you would whittle away at the end using your stone blade. In this game, however, he just kind of breaks it apart and he gets a sharp stick. Now this is the basic spear, and we're just going to make another one because always have a backup if you can help it, because that means that you can have one to throw and one to still use in melee range. And now what we need would be water, either a way to catch water or a source of water, and we can find that probably in the lower lying area. So we need to find a way down there. Now we have actually had water along here. If we just carry along this little stream, we can find water as well. So there's a little puddle that should still contain water if we wanted to wash ourselves. The important thing is that this is dirty water, okay? You drink that, you are going to get parasites. We need clean water, and that's going to be slightly more challenging. Again, always watch your step whenever you are walking. Take it slow, rather safe than sorry, because there, as you can hear the distinctive rattle, there is the South American rattlesnake. And in this case, we're going to get a bit more meat by just chucking a spear at its head, and we're using our stone blade to harvest it again. Okay, so we've got a bit enough food now. We've got some nuts that we picked up. We also have, coming up right here, we've got some mushrooms which you can use. And we're just going to pick those as well. Important though, please don't eat mushrooms you don't know. It says they're unknown mushrooms, so that's generally a bad idea to go and eat them. You would rather not do that. But in this game I know that we can eat the mushrooms that we find here. Okay, so there's a little armadillo down there. We do still need to get down to the bottom section. Not sure exactly how we will do that. It is now raining, so it would have been very nice to have a way to catch the water. However, we don't have any coconuts yet. There's some coconut palms right over here. However, we can't seem to find any coconuts. Okay. Now what we also have here is a very useful plant known as Molinaria. And we should get that and use it later on to potentially make bandages, which would again be very useful. Now, wherever you are stranded, always look for plants that you can potentially use. And Molinaria, in this case, would be one of those. It's got relatively broad leaves, which you could potentially use then to make bandages. Okay, very, very useful. Now, we have found our way down, so let's just cautiously make our way along here. Always looking out for spiders and scorpions and snakes. Also, no coconuts up in the trees yet. Would have been very, very useful to have that. Now, what we have here would be bamboo. Okay, so we're entering a bit of a bamboo area here. Also very useful to make spears, right? Even in real life as well. They are a little bit lighter than a solid stick that we are technically carrying around at the moment. So I am going to throw out one of our weak spears here in favor of a proper bamboo one. So in this case, what you would want to do would be to cut it right above one of these nodes in real life. So when you look on the bamboo, as you can see here, these rings here would be the strongest points. The bamboo stick generally hollow inside, but around the nodes that we've got right over here where I'm pointing, that's where the bamboo is strongest. And you would want to cut right above that so that when you use the bamboo stick as a spear, it doesn't splinter as much. Okay, so you can use it then for a bit longer than if you just cut it higher up. Okay, so now we have got a choice. So we are more or less still where we were earlier. We can either go east or we can go west. In both cases, we are right here at the watershed, as it's called, the place where water is shed into two different directions, east and west, that the water can now flow. So we've got to decide which way we want to move in order to get fresh water. So I think let's head in this direction, which would be northwest, and let's follow this little trail down to see if we can get to a river or a larger stream. So usually these little small tributaries, these little small valleys, so basically all the water from the left, all the water from the right would flow into this little stream and then continue flowing downstream. And that is where we are heading. We are going down to go see if we can find a larger stream, because all these little streams will eventually join, or should eventually join, a larger river. Okay, so let us walk in this general direction. The water would flow around here. Now, of course, we do need to also keep an eye out for predators, because they would obviously hunt along rivers as well, or hide in the dense foliage next to waterways. So let's continue on a bit, see if we can find anything that will aid us in our continued survival. Okay, we found some more mushrooms. In this case, they are also edible, so we are going to take them, mainly because we know them. Again, if we didn't know the mushrooms, we wouldn't eat the mushrooms. That's a very, very important thing to remember. Unless you are 100% sure of what you are going to eat, don't eat it. Okay, so we have got nothing at the moment around here, but we are still keeping our eyes peeled. Lots of bamboo around. This would be a good place to potentially build a base, because there is lots of building material in the general vicinity. And still no coconuts up in the palms. Okay, so following this, we should get to a water source, in theory at least. However, what we found is actually a plane crash. Okay, so this is getting very, very interesting. Right. Now, normally what would happen is the water would flow along here and would probably have flowed down and, well, most likely through this cave somewhere down there, but I assume there's been a mud fall. Okay, however, we do now have coconuts, which is going to be very useful to have. And so the fact that we now have coconuts basically has increased our survival quite a bit. So we can first of all drink the coconut here, and we can then harvest it. Now in this case he's using his hands to harvest it. You would not do that in real life. The way you would open up a coconut like this would be to take the coconut, and actually all along the equator of the coconut you would hammer it with a stone. And in that way it actually weakens it all along the equator, and that's the easiest way to open it up. And you would then be able to split it open, and you would get your two more or less halves of coconuts. So we've got our coconut bowls right here, and we're just going to place them out so that when it starts to rain, we have got them to catch the water for us. And I think we should also get some more. So we're just going to drink this one as well and harvest it as well. And you would then, of course, once you have cut open the coconut or banged open the coconut, you would use a scraper to get the coconut flesh out, and that would then leave you with these two coconut bowls, which you can leave out to actually catch a little bit of water. Now you wouldn't actually want it flat on the ground like this. You would want to actually suspend it higher up, so let's just actually try to do that. If you leave it on the ground, they will actually fill with mud and, well, sediments as the raindrops fall. So we're just going to lay them out neatly here. We are actually we're trying to survive in a realistic way over here in this game. So you would want to raise them slightly above the ground so that when raindrops splash on the ground, it doesn't actually splash soil particles into the coconut bowls. And speaking of rain, there we go. Starting to rain a bit. This is the wet season, so we are going to have a good time in terms of getting enough water to survive. As we are looking at this, it's currently empty. It should start filling up quite nicely in a moment. There we go. Speaking of which, immediately it starts filling up with water, so now we'll have quite a bit of water for us. And that is basically where we are going to end today. So this was the first of Green Hell Boot Camp. Next time I will probably be talking a bit more about making fire, because that is going to be the next very, very important step for us in our survival. We now have a way to get water, we have got basic weapons, we also have a stone tool which we can use to technically make a whole bunch of other tools. So we're going to be doing that as well as we go along, talk about how you would go about making stone tools like these, and basic spears and stuff like that. And of course we also learned a way to look for stones. Now in real life you would look along big cliff faces like this, but in the game you would look for those big piles of rocks, and you would find your stones along there to harvest. But you would also look along little water fountainous areas like this, and we technically in real life, wherever water has flowed or where there has potentially been rock falls, that's where you would find your stones to use to make tools. But that's it for today, I'm afraid. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, leave a like below. Remember to subscribe if you haven't yet. And I will soon have another video up as we continue with our Green Hell Bootcamp. Until then, stay safe, and I will see you guys soon.